Hey, what's up everyone? Jukem here with a Pokemon Ultra Sun Hardcore Nuzlocke using only Pokemon featured as playable characters in Pokkén Tournament DX for the Nintendo Switch system. Pokkén is where my roots lie, and with Ultra Sun's expansive list of Pokemon, we'll have plenty of mains and co-mains for our party in this run. This is especially thanks to Island Scan, a feature that'll summon rare Pokemon not normally found in Alola through the use of QR codes. For the rules of a Hardcore Nuzlocke, you'll find them on screen right now. I can only catch the first Pokemon on each route/area, and if any Pokemon faints, they'll suffer a permanent FGC retirement playing Final Fantasy XIV. This run also features level caps, set battle mode, no items in battle, and species clause. Also note that the Pokkén roster has a few non-fully evolved Pokemon in it, but because the Ultra games are possibly the hardest in the series with EV-trained Pokemon everywhere, I will allow Pokemon like Pikachu to evolve. And Ultra Sun is a long game, meaning I won't summarize every battle, just the ones of importance or that are fun to cover. Anyway, it's time to brighten up the world of Alola with some good freaking Pokkén. Let us commence. Our main character syndrome backstory to dominate the Pokkén world starts up on Route 1, where we just moved in and are frantic to see what the competitive scene in Alola is like. Professor Kukui is kind enough to give me advice upon arrival on who we should main first. I do as he says by grabbing and embracing this round owlet. Munster, Durala, and I are going to become number 1 on the player rankings together one way or the other. That said, I realized quickly that solo maining ain't gonna be the play. After contemplating on who else to pick up, I captured a Pichu named Kino, also on Route 1. This will be the exception to a single encounter within an area rule. Getting your starter here and first wild encounter are very different in my opinion, and I will need this now evolved Pikachu to even stand a chance at what's ahead in the beginning of our island challenge. This game's training mode doesn't mess around, with teacher Emily and Ilima possessing type effectiveness against our Rowlet. Emily, who reminds me of Pokémon's Nia, almost ends us right then and there, but we press continue due to a lucky critical hit that lets a priority quick attack take Litten out without a blaze boosted Ember striking us down. Ilima, however, is much more of an issue. Yungoos and Smeargle, who are both EV trained, this early on forces us to search far and wide for a way to knock them down safely. Luckily, we have enough leeway with EV training and the level cap. Kino kinda sucks speed-wise, with a relaxed nature making him slower and poor IVs, but EVs will ensure we can outspeed even Smeargle. Some HP will also aid in our survival, along with an Oranberry. The only other issue is taking both Pokemon down somewhat fast without getting crit. Thankfully, this game offers a TM to be our savior in Echoed Voice. This move will add 40 base power per consecutive use. In a way, Yungoos is setup fodder for Kino to spam Echoed Voice until it reaches 200 base power at its maximum, which allows him to clear through Ilima, but not without making me sweat a bit. I did need to briefly put the EXP share on since management was an issue with only 2 Pokemon, but this won't be a thing again for the rest of the run. Only Munster suffering from overleveling after a while on Route 2. Hooray! But Route 2 is where I decide to pick up another character. Not you, Spearow. We'll be capturing you as an offer to someone on Metafy to coach us on how to play Pikachu Libre optimally. This is a weird looking Pikachu Libre. I won't judge this Libre, because Slipping Bug will prove to be incredibly useful later on. And I know I mentioned species clause, but there aren't going to be very many opportunities to use Pikachu Libre in a Nuzlocke. No way Jose am I ever going to regret making this exception. Wow. Would you look at that minus speed nature on our fast Pokemon. Slip will sit out for a bit with Munster as we tackle our first trial. Kino is the star of the show, who does level up mid-trial twice, which is fine by me. We also discover some tech in a TM for Brick Break conveniently right before the Totem battle with Gumshoes. This battle of course begins with a much stronger Kino against his +1 defense Gumshoes. He is alone for now, so we charm Gumshoes to harshly lower his attack. Gumshoe's simply scary faces in return to make Kino slower before summoning a fellow rodent cohort. We knowledge check that Yungoos in one shot via our newly learned Brick Break, and then take a tackle in return. Kino is straight vibing, since 2 Brick Breaks are then capable of defeating the best Gumshoes in Alola, winning the set 2-0. He couldn't do anything to Kino, allowing us to complete the trial and receive our first Z Crystal. Afterward is a brief run around all of Melee Island. There isn't anything notable story or trainer-wise, let's just get straight to the new encounters with our handy-dandy island scan. Route 3 is where we find Raikel the Charmander, who loved to not stay in the ball. My favorite Kanto starter in Squirtle, named Mutator, was much more tame in comparison. With those two allowing the team at the bottom to not look too empty, Hala is hollering for some fisticuffs with an 11-year-old at the Grand Trial. This will be Slip's debut battle, and what a debut it is. Hala's fighting types sure don't appreciate flying press after flying press, battering away at his team to knock out both Machop and Makuhita with ease. Crabrawler manages to hang on, but his raw super scales fails terribly, somehow, meaning one final press puts the boxer in his place. This was a nice, easy win versus Hala, meaning we complete our grand trial and become PR #1 of Melee Island. I could make a Smash Bros joke about the island name, but just like this island, I don't consider it to be part of the FGC. Hala's defeat grants us Tauros, which means we can cause environmental destruction to enter this cave and nab us Wingtide the Machop, and a Flyinium Z2, where Kahili has her one cameo appearance before the Elite Four at the end of the game. Just kind of hiding out and seeing when someone will stop by so she can show us the command input for the super move. Wonder how much she makes on coaching like this. And now we are able to head to Akala Island. Mantine surfing there isn't just stylish and fun gameplay, but doing this over and over again grants us easy BP to buy items and learn tutor moves, so that's neat. Beforehand, we also had the evolutions of Munster into Dartrix, Raikel into Charmeleon, and Mutator into Wartortle. Other than that, watch me suffer trying to PP stall a Mime Jr. so I could set up and not get completely bodied by Dexio's Espeon in the back. Sure is fun getting confused at the last freaking moment. I could have just swept him if it didn't occur when I just got all the workups I needed. No casualties there at least. We can move on to the Totem Araquanid, who is very scary. After a grueling battle to the death, I remember that Route 5 is also home to Grovyle, who I name Wise. Approaching new areas after our 1v1 with Dulce also lets us island scan for Ronko the Ralts on Route 6. We then soon evolve her into Curlia. And hey look, I found the Smash scene in the party game Battle Royale venue. I'm sorry, I'm kidding, I swear. This is definitely the ultimate island, but while sitting through this Battle Royale cutscene, it's a good time to consider subscribing to the channel. You know, to all those people that I may or may not have insulted their fighting game tastes. The sport is always fantastical, y'all, and for the question of the day, what's your favorite fighting game, and who do you main in said fighter? For me, Sceptile and Napoleon are my dudes in Pokkén, but Lancelot in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus is another cool character in a very well-made game. Yeah, anyway, I just Z fighting this Royale, it's completely free. Our next trial is up, a DDR side event. Oh baby, I'm excited. Not for Totem Marowak though. He'll be a tough skull to crack due to his defensive profile, strong partner in Salazzle, and a thick club that enables ludicrous damage from him. But I've got a plan. Just gotta hope for 0 crits. The battle with Totem Marowak commences with Mutator here. We protect on turn 1 to bait out the Salazzle ally straight away, which works out because Marowak detects anyway. Detect is why I couldn't rely on any immediate strats to take him down before Salazzle shows up. Then, after surviving both a Venoshock and a Brick Break, we use our Water EMZ to drown Salazzle in a nasty Hydro Vortex, turning this back into a 1v1. It's then a switch to Wingtide. Wartortle's water typing would bait Brick Break and not Flame Wheel. He indeed strikes us for just over half with Brick Break. This triggers our Citrus Berry, giving us enough HP to then survive a non-crit Flame Wheel before slapping that stupid Thick Club away with Knockoff. Now we just swap over to Raikel, who will be able to take hits much better, like this weak Flame Wheel. Rai has the endurance to survive 2 Brick Breaks, which lets him breathe away with Dragon Rages to take down Totem Marowak. That's our 3rd standard trial complete, thankfully with no crits in sight, and not much time passes before we're ready for our last totem on Akala Island. Lurantis is a notorious boss fight. I was there when Sun and Moon came out. I suffered, but I became stronger as a result. But it's my patience I must master, because while it'd be simple to just... that wouldn't be as interesting, but we do have other options. Turns out, Munster the Dartrix has everything he would possibly want to take him on. Firstly, for this battle, we ironically do need to... This puts her HP low enough, which will make her call upon Comfey and not Kecleon. Kecleon knows Ancient Power, so that's a huge nope. Afterward, it's a simple game us 3 are engaged in. Lurantis can decide whether to just give up now, or enter this endurance contest. Comfey will heal Lurantis via Floral Healing, and Lurantis herself will do the same with Synthesis. Our Plex won't do much besides prompting them to waste healing PP, but Munster has both Synthesis and Roost. He can outlast them, and even if Comfey attempts Flower Shield, this move will raise the defense of all grass types, meaning Munster is included. X-Scissor is the best Lurantis has to damage us, so little by little, all healing options are off the table. However, funny story, if Comfey faints, Kecleon will come out anyway. Did you know struggle against multiple targets doesn't let you choose who to aim? I didn't. Munster ran out of PP right when one more pluck would have finished Lurantis off. But if we attack and defeat Comfey, it sure will be awkward when Kecleon comes through. On our first struggle, we do strike Lurantis, but with all the defense boost from Flower Shield, she hangs on. Just one more needs to connect, and I actually jumped in my seat when I saw Comfey turn toward Munster, but it turns out she also has no PP left. It wasn't Munster's struggle aiming at her. We end up lucking out with struggle meeting its mark. I'm a 50-50 genius. What can I say? Lurantis is down and out. Munster is low on HP, meaning we can swap to Ronko to tank a struggle that causes enough recoil to finish Comfey off. The storyline of this run is more interesting, but at the cost of my sanity. Should have just Pikachu Libre'd them and called it a day, but at the very least, we have quite a few new encounters as we approach the Grand Trial. We befriend Raydell Empire the Combuskin on Route 8, Junior Jam the Ghastly at Memorial Hill, and Euclase the Honedge at Akala Outskirts. And since we got Ghastly now, I can return to Hau'oli Cemetery to safely find and capture Uchi the Litwick. Konikoni City is also where the Eviolite can be obtained, both as a standard item and through emotional manipulation from this man. Those in love are so easy to fool. He says if we Z-move his Clamperl, he'll gain the courage to confess to the girl he's into. Unfortunately for him, yoinking his Clamperl's held Eviolite with Thief before beating him normally isn't enough for him, and he'll ask us to return the next day repeatedly until we use a Z-move. So I don't ever return and take an extra Eviolite just in case. The new level cap also allows Wingtide to evolve into Machoke, who can then transform into the grappler of my nightmares by trading on my handy dandy Special 3DS. Too bad his minus attack nature is abysmal. To fix that up, I yoink a black belt from a wild Makuhita to strengthen his fighting type attacks for our fight against Kahuna Olivia. Her team may seem polished, but Machamp's muscles are more rugged than her squadron of rocks. The Grand Trial versus Olivia begins with her Anorith against Wingtide. While Anorith is faster and nails a Metal Claw, it's peanuts compared to Wingtide's Brick Break, which one-shots the little bug. Second up is Lileep, who does have a chance to survive a super effective Brick Break since minus attack nature. The roll is still more likely than not to KO, but the game thought it'd be funny to demonstrate why grapplers shouldn't be high tier. Lileep survives and nails a weak Giga Drain in return. Olivia uses her super potion now, but it doesn't fully heal, which allows Wingtide to net another KO as Lileep succumbs to a second Brick Break. Last up is Lycanroc. He can't do much. Wingtide is tanky enough to have several turns of bite flinches, but all he needs is a single Brick Break to claim another broken rock. This happens right away. This battle was fast and simple, proving that we're number one on Akala Island with Olivia's defeat. And with that, another race level cap means another set of evolutions. We gain zoning prowess with Ronko evolving into Gardevoir, along with Junior Jam going from a Haunter all the way to a Gengar after a quick trading of funds. This is the power of coaching. And this is a woman over the age of 40. After visiting Aether Paradise and almost throwing a bit against Nihilego, we arrive at Ula Ula Island and fight Hao. At this point, his Alolan Raichu is actually a fair bit scary, but we can manage with smart switches. Mutator here, upon defeating Hao's Flareon, will bait Electro Ball from Raichu. This will grant Junior Jam a free switch in so he can Shadow Ball for the Oko. Why would you not Electro Ball the War Turtle right in front of you? You sent Raichu out because electric dominates water, Hao! Actual 11-year-old behavior from the fictional 11-year-old. Unbelievable. Unfortunately, I am also stupid, because I send in Euclase the Honedge. We can strike with Shadow Sneak to bring Raichu low, and then do so again after surviving Electro Ball. Sorry, I'm dumb. Electro Ball is dependent on the speed, and Euclase was just barely in range for the damage to always KO him, and I didn't make his speed accurate in my damage calc. I did this under the assumption he would survive. This is a big loss early on. Aegislash is busted in both Pokkén and the mainline games, and there are numerous fights where I know I could count on him. But I think it'd be more fun to see how far we can go even with the potential snowballing, so I won't reset yet. Beyond two of my moms dropping like flies back to back, Hao isn't an issue afterward. Let's move on to our next trial on Mount Hokulani. The electric trial is a pretty fun one, if pretty simple. I just feel the need to mention it because in order to beat it, we have to form a DP input. This is a hint by the game that for the Totem Togedemaru, the most optimal play is to DP in neutral. And wouldn't you know, that is indeed the correct way of doing things. This Inferno Overdrive from Raikel's Flame Burst is too powerful for a more physically defensive opponent, taking out the totem before he could say best of 3. He got one and done, allowing us to complete yet another trial. Fittingly, our Electrical Star Kino finally learned Discharge. It's a perfect time to use a Thunderstone, evolving him into a Alolan Raichu. This is also the point where I go back to collect TMs. We'll need 50 of them for a Razor Claw later on, but it's also nice to have them for future strats. Unfortunately, my plays and jukes bite me in the end. Veteran Brony, yes, that's what I'm going with, has a team stronger than the level cap. Honchkrow is very strong, but Whiscash's Earth Power, after just dealing with Hao's stupid AI, has me contemplating life itself if switching to Kino is the correct play here. I have to rely on Ronko to handle it. She finishes off a weakened Whiscash. It's her chance to save us from my stupidity. This Draining Kiss will have to seal the deal. and it just couldn't. I got too ahead of myself for this battle as Ronko goes down to a Steel Wing, all for a Shadow Ball TM that I won't even be using right now. I am mauling at the fact that not a single Ralts line Pokemon has been showcased well on the channel thus far. It's just a Pokemon with bad luck. But enough ranting. Now for panicking. Mimikyu was always going to be one of the worst totems to deal with. It wasn't like slower ghosts or Gardevoir were about to aid us much anyway. I spent several hours, probably like 5 or 6, on a way to minimize casualties or even make it deathless. Luckily, I did strike gold. With level ups mid-trial allowed, we can raise many of our starters to level 36, where they'll evolve. This includes Raikou into Charizard, Wise into Sceptile, Ray into Blaziken, Mutator into Blastoise, and Munster into... actually, not yet. Eviolite Dartrix will put in work, along with everyone else, so long as a poorly timed crit doesn't happen. Let's do this thing. It's Totem Mimikyu time. We lead with Raikou to start things off. Since this Mimikyu has an Omni boost, it's ideal to slow her down with Scary Face. She has a Lumberry to prevent us from just paralyzing, but also, there's a more important status to use later. After a Shadow Claw, Mimikyu calls a Bayonet. We want this to be a 1v1 as soon as possible, and an Inferno Overdrive is perfect to force the situation, fainting the Bayonet before he does any actions. Using Tomato Berries from the Royal Avenues Market to lower Raikou's speed, I was able to fix his EV spread up enough to survive 2 Shadow Claws. This second one should be safe, so long as it doesn't... Not really angry there. I was pushing my luck for this fight. If someone had to go down, I figured Charizard would be the best choice anyway, considering future battles. Rai was a king who helped us throughout this entire island. Rest in peace. I would have swapped the Munster next turn. At least we can do so without him getting damaged on the way in. To lengthen Raikou's last bit of footage of being at the bottom of the screen, it's another PP stall with Munster. An Eviolite and non-ghost weakness that Decidueye would normally possess lets us continuously heal off rough attacks like, well, Play Rough. Protect will minimize chances for Mimikyu to crit, again, and I make sure to pluck away her Lumberry, which also breaks her disguise. No OSs in my house, Mimikyu. The PP stall goes on without a hitch. With 0 Play Rough to threaten our other Pokemon, we switch. Mutator to Blastoise actually has some pretty awful defensive stats, with 1 IV in HP and 2 in defense, but even he can survive 2 attacks with Play Rough out of the picture. This is important, since we'll be statusing Mimikyu to passively whittle her down. Toxic isn't available yet, but we do have Fling. With a Poison Barb, this will inflict poison 100% of the time. Cue the major stall. Protect is godly for this, but a follow-up Water Pulse from Mutator is as well. Mimikyu then puts Mutator at his limits with Leech Life before calling upon Jellicent. After one last Protect, I am forced to make a risky switch to Ray. A Water Pulse would doom him, but Jellicent opts for Nightshade instead like a smart opponent would. A Wild Jellicent is confirmed to be smarter than How. Also good time to mention that I thiefed away like 6 leftovers from Wild Munchlax, my favorite item to mindlessly give a Pokemon if I don't know what else to give them. Anyway, another Protect occurs, as you might guess, before I then switch again to another healthy team member in Wise. She hangs on from the double attack and remains unconfused. I of course protect one last time just to stay secure, but this stall is finally over as we knock Mimikyu out on the next turn with Giga Drain. Jellicent Nightshades in return, but Giga Drain's healing creates the safest situation we've been in the entire fight. We don't one-shot him, but restoring this much HP is always satisfying. Cursed Body disables Giga Drain, but that's a-okay for us. He's weak to the point where a follow-up Dual Chop reunites him with Mimikyu in the afterlife. Definitely the most strategic fight currently, and it's due to those darn EV investments. It's fun, really, but very stressful, and the enjoyment came at the cost of Rai's life in this case. Either way, all of Ula's trials are complete, but before we can prove ourselves to be the greatest Space Channel 5 player in all of existence, Team Skull is here to play in their unwired connections. To rise up to the occasion, Munster evolves into Decidueye. Then we gain access to a shark by the most insane gambler I've ever met. He destroys the game's code by performing things in between the 50-50s. Like, sir, what do you mean you were gonna call a Skarmory to catch this coin? Do you mean cheating? Luckily, I am gamer and called him out on Twitter.com. Grimsley will be cancelled and banned from all sanctioned events while any PR placements have been revoked, but Guzma probably deserves worse for being unwired. Between one vile man and another lies a cool character, a Primplup on Route 16 who we named Lemon. It doesn't take long for the guy to then evolve into the mighty Aquajet. Aquajet is a fantastic Pokemon who will fill in the defensive profile we lack considering our other water starters' horrendous defenses. Did I mention his special defense IV is 6 and he's got a minus special defense nature? Well, once Team Skull has gone packing, the old school FGC player Nanu is up next. He's funny, but he hates players who play on pad. Well, he can't say no to my challenge. This is for Ula Ula's rankings, baby! Nanu's grandchild begins with his Sableye while I lead Lemon. We begin with a Water Pledge to take Sableye close to half health, before parrying a Shadow Claw for minimal damage. Leftovers are going to be the savior on Lemon for battles to come, but don't worry, I won't really mention Protect turns unless they're important to the rest of the battle. If you see inconsistent HP, just know I protected a turn. Anyway, Lemon Water Pledges once again. We luck out with a crit to prevent any potion healing, meaning Sableye gets brought down. Now second is Krokorok, who wants to Earthquake Lemon. It's an easy swap to slip, who is immune to it despite his electric typing thanks to an air balloon. I figured I might try to set up someone in the back, so I went for Charm to harshly lower Krokorok's attack. After Slip gets hit by Crunch, I changed my mind. We just OHKO Krokorok with Brick Break. Nanu's Ace Alolan Persian is last, who isn't too tricky of a kitty. This is our Grappler Wingtide's one winning matchup. He gets switched in on a feeble fake out. Next turn, Wingtide tanks a Dark Pulse with ease, and then we do the freed up. These Kahuna battles for PR are too easy. GG's, old man. Now we're getting to lots of story shenanigans. Before our battles with Guzma and Lusamine, I prepared by obtaining a powerhouse in Haina Desert, a Gabite from SOS Battles. Her name is Roxo. Roxo evolves Garchomp right away, and while not planning to use him just yet, I also take the time to evolve Uchi into Lampent. Aether Foundation's beginnings are a Fabreeze. Even Faba ain't doing so hot in a double battle, but we definitely are sweating bullets for Guzma's final bout. He's got a nasty Vikavolt this time, but I've thought this through. The key Pokemon here are Lemon and Ray. We first need to stall Golisopod out of Sucker Punches and Liquidations, leaving him with just First Impression, which is useless when it's not his first turn out. Iron Defense is incredible as well for tanking Liquidations better. As usual, the stall is completely fine. Once stalling is stall done, we Toxic Golisopod. We then switch the Garchomp on the opponent's one of many failed first impressions. Roxo Stealth Rocks it up, and then it's a swap to Ray. The Tri-State love is here. Toxic at this point activates Emergency Exit, forcing Golisopod out, and having Guzma decide to bring in Masquerain in return. However, with Stealth Rock up, he is not at peace. His HP is low enough for an intimidated Ray to clear the field with Fire Punch. Guzma goes with Pinsir now. He's not an issue, since we outspeed and can survive any crit. Pinsir hangs on barely after Fire Punch, then lands a strong Stone Edge. Like I said though, it's all part of the plan. A second Fire Punch is able to... So, hilarious news guys, we're speed tied. I legitimately got mind gamed by a double 50-50 speed tie that led me to believe I was faster after going first the initial turn, only to get floored by Stone Edge right after. I can't even be mad since I didn't check the speed when doing all this, but also that's just poetic for how my luck goes. Amazing in obvious situations, but terrible in oddly specific scenarios. Wouldn't have it any other way for the idiotic funny content, but sorry Ray. Blaziken's backdash is actually that terrible. Couldn't even avoid any Stone Edges there. Guzma falls shortly after. But this sucks. We have to battle Lusamine next. Suffering can only continue for so long, but I have time to kill for a few more hours of theory crafting. I'll surely be over Ray's demise by then. Smile. Knowing I have only one other fire type left, it's Uchi's moment in the spotlight. Dusk Stones are able to be found in Poképelago, but I was lazy this whole time to do it beforehand. Don't have much of a choice now, but whatever. Chandelure is now throwing hands. Did I mention that this Shandy has a minus special attack nature? Granted, 145 base special attack still hits different, but I want more literal firepower, please. Come on, hot stuff. Not you, or, well, I guess you at this point. We're fighting Lusamine, fellas. She begins with her Clefable, while we lead Munster. We strike first with a Leaf Blade that'll combo into a KO next turn, while Lusamine uses Psychic. So right off the bat, I can tell she's just as smart as How is. Whatever, that's better for us. Another Leaf Blade finishes Clefable off. Decidueye will bait Lopunny now due to Ice Punch and Fire Punch. Once she's out, it's a switch to Wingtide. Lopunny's Ice Punch doesn't do much and also doesn't freeze. That's wonderful, since we've got a Lumberry equipped to stop one status condition. It doesn't matter if this Fire Punch burns or not, since we'll remain unstatused as we deal a fatal blow with Cross Chop, which will never miss thanks to Wingtide's No Guard. Third is Beware. and this is where Uchi will make his debut. His typing and stats allow him to survive any hit on the switch, so he phases through this takedown. Uchi can then whiff punish with an Inferno Overdrive based on Inferno, abusing Beware's Fluffy for basically super effective damage and KOing her in the process. Fourth out is Milotic. I first use Protect, since it's important that she runs out of Hydro Pumps. After that, it's a swap to Resident Tank Lemon, who frees up this Milotic. Lusamine weirdly opts for Dragon Pulse for even less damage when Lemon's out, enough for 2 leftover turns to heal it off, while we played a waiting game through Toxic. All we gotta do is alternate between Protect and Aqua Jet to slowly but surely force Milotic to rest permanently. Shoutouts to putting Flail on your special attacker, Lusamine. Your intellect is envied by all. Bye bye Milotic. Last in this battle is Lilligant. We can't one-shot her safely due to status or missing something, but we can introduce an unlikely team-up. Slip is here and cures Stun Spore paralysis with his Lumberry. We then Volt Switch to deal some damage to Lilligant before swapping the Wise. She absorbs the Stun Spore, though she had a Lumberry too in case of Teeter Dance. It's Wise's chance to end this upset attempt with an X-Scissor, bringing down Lilligant. This makes Lusamine very salty, with so many excuses as she continues to claim how awesome she is. Reminder that this battle is only happening in the Ultra Games as a way for Lusamine to prove that she can handle Necrozma just fine. Girl Queen, you don't do Mons, I'm just saying. Why are you going into the cigarette dimension and leaving your children behind? To save Lusamine and Guzma's combined 2 brain cells, we head toward Pony Island. And can I just say, being 100% real right now, the music pieces back to back here make me feel emotional. Seafolk Village at night is probably my favorite town theme in all of Pokemon. Just very, very calming. Ancient Pony Path is also fantastic. Both songs really show how it's almost the end of a journey, which definitely hit a lot harder emotionally with the story of Sun and Moon. Still great in the Ultra Games, but anyway, let us continue. Ancient Pony Path is where we're able to capture a Delphox, who I name a Wild G. Afterward, a ton of story goes by, but not many major battles of note. I'm careful to travel through Vast Pony Canyon, beat the final 3 mandatory trainers who are pretty hard in the area, and now it's all prep for Totem Komo-o. To ensure my plan goes well, I use the EV reducement berries found on Route 10 to make Roxo more defensive for the upcoming fight. This was before I realized type damage reduction berries were available at Ancient Pony Path. I kept misinterpreting the area when reading where they were as a post-game one somehow, but live and learn. We're still geared up for this pseudo-legendary's Dragon Trial. This duel of dragons goes off with Roxo attempting to prove her worth. The initial play will seem familiar to y'all. We protect turn 1 to force Komo-o's partner Noivern to appear. Then with our speed EVs and higher level alongside a good nature, Roxo can outspeed and defeat her with a Dragon Claw. Komo-o's own Dragon Claw strikes us, but a crit wouldn't KO. Roxo's work is done. Now's our chance to swap into Lemon on a Dragon Claw that deals puny damage. After some leftovers recovery, Komo-o is aiming for Drain Punch, but that's okay as we pivot to Uchi, who is immune. We then lose half our HP to Dragon Claw, then have Komo-o suffer a burn through Will-O-Wisp. This was a riskless play, as Uchi is holding a zoom lens obtained in the Dimensional Research Lab, granting a 20% accuracy boost if the user goes after its target. With Will-O-Wisp's 85% accuracy, this always connects. We protect to gain more burn damage on Komo-o. We're attempting to time it for him to be in range for my KO attack while not being low enough to summon another ally. G is then brought in on Dragon Claw, taking it thanks to the burn. And finally, after one last protect to get Komo-o low enough, I project my skills in pressing the Flame Charge button in Pokkén onto his mind via a Shattered Psyche, which deals the damage needed to knock down the mighty Dancing Dragon. That's our second to last trial completed. And with that, we've reached the climax of the story where brutal endeavors await. Wow, would you look at that, Lusamine got bodied! No problem for me though, cause I'm better than her. Duskmane Necrozma actually isn't an issue. Uchi is both faster and can survive even a Night/crit if need be, but an Inferno Overdrive from a base 145 special attack, even with the ugly nature, is more than enough to blast past Necrozma's Prism Armor and one-shot it. However, the Ultra Games do me dirty here with the upcoming level 60 Ultra Necrozma with Omni-boosted stats. This is a broken top tier if I've ever seen one, but if I can prove that I can defeat even this thing, then it'll boost my ranking, and more importantly, my ego. I've got the counterplay just for it, with this game's sole Focus Sash given by this nice lady. We step up to Ultra Necrozma with the will to win. For our brawl here, I lead with Slip. We formulate our play, where Necrozma moves first and devastates Slip with Photon Geyser. Despite the power, the Focus Sash lets us hang on, and then I told y'all, brutal endeavors were on their way. we do a bit of cheese to force the crows when the match slips 1 HP. Now we simply swap the Lemon, who resists everything our opponent has. With one last attack in a priority, spaced, Aqua Jet, the Master of Light had 0 win cons in this set, finished off with only 2 Pokemon required. We've saved Alola, but more importantly, I proved to Lusamine that she's dumb and stupid and a bad community figure. Please go away. She's old school and can't hold a modern controller for the life of her, so we'll see new horizons in the next generation of gamers with a round trip across all the islands I conquered for Mina's trial. As much as it's fun to have this gauntlet of bosses before the totem, none of them are very notable. We'll say, bodying Elima more easily this time was cathartic. And also apparently you only have to fight Nanu in Ultra Moon and not Ultra Sun? A weird decision to say the least, but less worries for me before the totem Rabombi squares up. Yeah, she's a wee bit of an issue with her +2 stats across the board, but it's still a Rabombi. To begin our final totem, I send out Uchi. His goal is to lower Rabombi's HP enough so she calls Blissey instead of Pelipper. He tanks a Dazzling Gleam turn 1, meaning his Inferno Overdrive goes off for free. Rabombi's Okaberry reduces the damage, but it's still enough to breach Blissey range. On the following turn, Uchi tanks another Dazzling Gleam, but we've won the battle through a Kinetic Toxic. Rabombi's time is limited, and luckily, Blissey doesn't have Healer as her ability to remove the poison. Blissey only sets up a pointless light screen, but she does possess Heal Pulse, which can possibly allow Rabombi to survive 1 extra turn to cause some damage. What this calls for is Resident Staller, Lemon. He meets with a Dazzling Gleam on the switch, with Blissey healing Rabombi with Heal Pulse. You Bet Protect is a part of the stall, though Blissey is showing signs of Lusamine levels of stupidity by helping handing on Rabombi's Quiver Dance. Even with boosted special attack, Bug Buzz doesn't even do half the Lemon, and because Blissey might be Lusamine in a Pokemon's body, she never Heal Pulses for the rest of the battle. One last Protect the following turn stalls Rabombi enough to faint her through toxic damage. Some Aqua Jets later, and Lusamine meets her demise as well. Good ending. We can claim the title of Master of Alola's Trials for successfully completing every trial on each island. But Pony Island had a recent player ranking by Tapu Fini, but that Tapu set Hapu as number 1, dubbing her Kahuna. This last grand trial should prove once and for all who is the greatest gamer in all of Alola. Our match with Hapu starts off with her leading Golurk versus Uchi. With a choice specs from Tapu Village equipped, a Shadow Ball is an immediate clean KO against Golurk. Up second is actually a surprise in Mudsdale. I thought Ace Pokemon were always sent in last in this game, but I was mistaken. There are ways to play around this, but it'll be riskier than my original plan. It's very clear a Tectonic Rage is on its way, meaning I'm forced to swap to Wise, who I wanted to set up on Gastrodon with work up slightly from Mudsdale and Flygon. A crit would have bodied Wise hard, but I am luckily not punished. Thanks to Overgrow at this range, I am also now capable of knocking Mudsdale out with an Energy Ball, without worry of another attack. The risks don't end here with Flygon's arrival. First, I go into Munster on a Dragon Breath, which doesn't paralyze. But on the next turn, another Dragon Breath does land, which unfortunately does status us. Leaf Blade does luckily come out for half damage. If we could just power through paralysis one more time, a Dragon Breath should knock Munster into Overgrow range for Leaf Blade to KO guaranteed. We take a third Dragon Breath, and yet again, I was pushing my luck here, huh? Gotta test my RPS here with a switch to Roxo. Roxo can live even a crit. It's just a matter if she'll get paralyzed, which is not in this timeline. This Flygon can rightfully hold the L with a Dragon Claw to the face. All that's left is Hapu's Gastrodon, but both with our grass types are under the weather, so we're not out of the woods yet. We switched the Lemon on a Muddy Water, which we are blessed by not getting our accuracy lowered. It's now just a Toxic Stall, though admittedly it gets awkward when my first one misses. Very grateful Gastrodon only has Mud Bomb and not Earth Power, but it's still a super effective hit. Our second Toxic has a successful run back, while Lemon actually dodges Mud Bomb, putting the universe back on track. This was good timing since Hapu uses a full heal when I didn't expect her to. After 2 turns of leftovers though, we're more than healthy enough to Toxic Gastrodon and survive a Mud Bomb. Operation Stall is now underway, with a Protect and Switch the Mutator after Lemon gets too weak. Since toxic damage will increase greatly this turn, a Water Pledge will hopefully place Gastrodon in range for it to KO. Gastrodon lands another Mud Bomb, but I misjudged the situation and she hangs on after Toxic. But Hapu doesn't play meta. She's stuck with her mid-tier Hyper Potions instead of top-tier Full Restores, meaning Toxic is still around. The constant damage is too much, finally putting an end to this terrifying grand trial. You know what? I can see why Hapu was placed as number 1 in this latest PR, but next month is when I'll be labeled as such. That's every grand trial complete. And to have everyone in the entire region know of my might, Professor Kukui set up a small tournament featuring the best of the best at Mount Lanakila, the Pokemon League. Very up my alley, I would say. And while Gladion shows up, he's never really been an issue at any point, so we're off to the peak of Mount Lanakila and arrive at the Pokemon League. And as a general tip for Nuzlockers at this point, since the move relearner is here, did you know you can straight up get 8 heart scales when you buy the Ronin set in Mali City's Sushi High Roller? You even get to indulge in the food with character developed Nanu. I didn't need this many scales, but this is daily, and it's great to keep in mind if you don't want to fish and endanger the entire Loftus population. We also have our last encounter of the run on Mount Lanakila and Pita Guy the Sneasel, who evolves in the Weavile with that Razor Claw I've had for quite a while. Hey, is that a minus attack nature I see? You shouldn't have. No, really, you shouldn't have. Why is my luck this bad? I'm playing the hardest Pokemon games. With that all out of the way, Alola has an incredibly tough Elite Four. I took a lot of time to have everything looked at and form a set of Pokemon that'll succeed. And these 6 are who I think have the best odds. No runbacks if I lose, just the will to have fun and put on a show for y'all. Let's play crazy. Our Pokemon League tournament has me facing Acerola round 1. She leads Bayonet as we go with Pita for her debut. Her mark is left on the world, and as Bayonet's body with a single Night Slash for the OHKO. Second is Delmise. With the Icium Z from Mount Lanakila, we can perform a brutal Sub-Zero Slammer to knock it out. Third is Acerola's Ace, Palisand. With full HP, even an Earth Power crit won't KO Pita. We'll aim for a 2-shot, using Ice Punch to place her in the yellow. But then, something I didn't consider happened in Iron Defense. I was always worried about damage in this fight because of all of her Pokemon. Palisand not attacking and doing this instead never came to mind. This means a second Ice Punch doesn't clutch the KO, with Earth Power putting Pita in range to be KO'd herself. There isn't any other option I can go for besides praying I get a lucky crit with Night Slash after she... Or she could be an honorable warrior who doesn't utilize dirty tactics like that. Mad respect. Mad respect. I think since Acerola is technically a trial captain, her items available are based on those of, say, Ilima, Kiawe, etc., which is only a full heal if I'm correct. If intentionally made this way, that's a cool touch to remain consistent with the other captains, but this was not planned, and I totally was stuck in my menus for 5 minutes figuring out how to salvage this. Off to a bad start mentally, but not physically. Frostlass is up next, and with our minus attack nature, Night Slash is only about an 80% chance to KO. The Earth Power from before lowered Pita's special defense unfortunately, but I've no other choice. We Night Slash, and we've nailed it! It's just Drifblim left. The safest maneuver is a swap into Lemon, who, surprise surprise, will Toxic Stall this balloon. I am correct in my assumption that Acerola only owns a full heal, but Drifblim's only attack is Ominous Wind, which has 5 uses total. The stall is not a problem in the slightest, though I did bring Roxo in to speed things up and to gain EXP for a level of her own. That is Acerola going 0-2. Shake my hand. Our round 2 match is against the steely nerd Mulane. He's played too much competitive showdown and leads with Klefki. We, on the other hand, have Kino come through. We're looking to damage Klefki a bit before switching to our sweeper. While the Jingly Keys spread spikes like no tomorrow, we hit him with Thunderbolt for a third of damage. Next turn, we Volt Switch for more damage before bringing in Roxo. She's chipped by spikes and takes a fair bit from Flash Cannon, but we're almost set. We bring our own hazard to the table in Stealth Rock, only being hit with another Flash Cannon by Klefki. Then after Klefki releases one last set of spikes, we crumple him with Bulldoze to the point where Mulane can't get back into his house. Sorry about that. Reflect was always a worry, which is why we needed Kino to soften Klefki up. Granted, this could have gone terribly if Reflect was set up last second when I was expecting Bisharp or Darktrio instead of Metagross here. Roxo has Brick Break, but I'm not sure how it'd go if Reflect was up against this guy. Doesn't matter, it's not up, so a Tectonic Rage based on Dig is more than enough to put Metagross in a constant error state. Third is Alolan Dugtrio. He's slower and very frail, to the point where Brick Break can easily one-shot him. Tingling Hair activates, but -1 speed is still faster than everything on Mulane's team. The upcoming Bisharp can't attack at all either and breaks to Brick Break. Last is Magnezone, whose sturdy is ruined due to the Stealth Rock. This allows Roxo to dig to avoid a Flash Cannon before striking next turn for another OHKO. Talk about a clean sweep with all this dirt made from our Land Shark. Great job to Roxo, and GG's to Mulane. Round 3 is a grudge match with Olivia. Her rock types clearly have gotten stronger, as shown by her Armaldo. We've improved as well though, unleashing Lemon upon her. I haven't gotten smarter though. While we resist all of Armaldo's attacks like X's are here, I went with the option to scald him before setting Stealth Rock up. If it had crit, the possibility I wouldn't get rocks up safely was much more likely. It was just a bad play. Thankfully, I don't get an unlucky crit, meaning we can summon the rocks for later as Olivia full restores. And since Armaldo is doing basically nothing to Lemon, a Scald into Aqua Jet results in him having almost full HP from leftovers while defeating the opponent. Second is Probopass, who has a case of Broken Sturdy. Lemon baits Earth Power more often than not here, making this a safe swap to Kino. Kind of a crazy play you might say, but don't worry, we have an air balloon to be immune to it. We're also immune to its Thunder Wave, which it actually uses right here. Now I need the balloon to pop to bait Probopass into Earth Power, so we have Kino whittle away at him in the meantime. He first brings forth a Sandstorm before deciding to Power Gem for about half our health. And since Probopass is 100% Earth Powering now, we switch to Slip, who is still weirdly immune to ground attacks without a balloon of his own. Must be a side effect from earlier against Nanu. Also, if that Thunder Wave wasn't a giveaway, that's why I had Kino bait Earth Power. Didn't want Slip paralyzed himself, even though he should be immune to paralysis too. Semantics. Probopass goes down to a Brick Break anyway. Third out is Gigalith, who is feeling extra defensive today with 252 EVs in HP and defense. Only with Stealth Rocks up will an all-out pummeling based on Flying Slam be just enough to crack that rock in half. What a bulky lad, but he's down. Fourth is Olivia's Lycanroc. Like Gigalith, Stealth Rock guarantees a knockout with Brick Break, so just like that... I'm sorry. Apparently, that was 252 defense EVs in Lycanroc, not attack. Okay, yeah, but enough attack to still one-shot Slip. You know, with Continental Crush, this giant Z move, I'm dead. Well, I guess this is what I get for misreading the trainer doc information. I had it coming. I'm unsure how I could have played around it, meaning I might have had to sack Slip anyway. Slip, you are the GOAT, for real. Thanks for all your help. Roxo avenges Slip with Dragon Claw, knocking Lycanroc out. Olivia's final Pokemon is Cradily. Munster is able to handle her. As we switch him in, Cradily just sets up a Stealth Rock of her own a bit too late. We then land a Toxic, proving this is a Bird starter Pokemon trait. At this point, Cradily's best attack is Rock Tomb, which is fine by me. While Olivia uses a full heal, Munster possesses Roost for recovery. Rock Tomb lowering our speed is also a blessing, since we'll always end the turn healing. It's a worryless stall, ending in Olivia's defeat. Up next is the semifinals in Kahili. Our strategy for her remains unchanged with Slip's death in mind. Kahili leads her Braviary as we send out Kino. We're faster and just Volt Switch that sucker. He gets a crit for the KO, which is unexpected. I wanted Lemon in to set up Stealth Rocks and then finish Braviary off, but this is still fine. Lemon here baits in Pikachu Libre. While he suffers a Flying Press, Stealth Rock is able to come through, and that crit actually makes my plan easier. After another Flying Press, we weaken Libre with Scald, which I originally planned to have Munster do. That would have risked a Throat Chop crit, but not anymore. Scald also burns, meaning I feel more comfortable swapping Roxo in on Flying Press, and not pivoting for less damage through Munster. Roxo hits a Dragon Claw for the KO on Libre. Weird exception to your flying types, Kahili, but Mandibuzz doesn't fall under that weirdness. She's even more free than the free flying she can do though. A Continental Crush from Stone Edge with the Stealth Rock damage is enough to destroy the super defensive bird. Fourth is her Ace 2 Cannon. I'm afraid but Kino is one who can almost always survive the attack if it doesn't crit. Afterward, we can Volt Switch for the KO and position ourselves to face Oricorio. Okay, not a crit everyone, just an unlucky 6.3% roll to one-shot Kino. No biggie. I should have played better with more defensive investment, but for the first time all run, I decided to be lazy. Clearly didn't turn out so well. Kino, I'll never forget you. PETA can clean up to Cannon at least. Ice Punch freezes her over for the knockout, though we get burned from the start of a Beak Blast. Last up is Oricorio. This is a switchback to Roxo, where she is on the receiving end of a Teeter Dance. Why Kahili would do this and not take a KO with Revelation Dance? Who freaking knows at this point? This isn't the worst, so I just gamble the confusion, persevere, and this knocks out the half-health Dancer with Dragon Claw. Golf is just a roller coaster. The ball goes up and then goes down. I'm sobbing at this point, because Grand Finals is soon and we only have 4 Pokemon left. We have a good team for what's ahead, mainly 3 Pokemon who I think can handle this for the most part. There's only a lot less leeway. Hao is here for the finale of gamers, and perhaps, maybe with enough hope, he won't be worse than Lusamine in stupid plays that just end up working out for him. Round 1, fight! Hao comes forth with his Alolan Raichu, while I brave the storm with Roxo. We first utilize Stealth Rock for necessary passive damage, but this means Roxo has to take a Psychic, doing roughly half. The following turn, we can then one-shot Raichu with a single Bulldoze. Roxo now baits Crabominable with her 4x Ice weakness. However, with the Stealth Rock damage, a devastating Drake is just that. Devastating to the Yeti Crab and enough to bring him down with 0 worries. Third is Hao's Primarina. I make a slight blunder, since I'd rather not risk a crit on Munster for this play. I wondered if I could possibly Toxic Stall, but after receiving a Moonblast on the switch, I changed my mind. Even with Protect, we don't restore back to full, so it was a waste. But on the bright side, the Moonblast doesn't crit Munster. This allows our Owl King to outspeed and one-shot Primarina guaranteed thanks to his equipped Miracle Seed. Fourth out now is Flareon, and this is where the sad music, if I decide to edit it in, plays. Our team ain't looking so hot, and for us to handle Tauros and Noivern, we'll need a sack. It sucks that it has to be our starter, but it is what it is. Munster Sucker Punches for that extra bit of damage, and then succumbs to the fiery might of Flareon's Flare Blitz. You did a ton for us, Owl Dude. Thank you so much. I decide to send in PETA next. Even if Hao healed here, 2 Night Slashes still KO. Hao doesn't use any potions though, saving us time as we knock out Flareon. Tauros is 5th, and unfortunately, it's looking like another sack. She does get off a Brick Break, but it only does half due to Intimidate. Tauros, on the other hand, just needs one powerful Double Edge to shatter PETA. PETA, you were fantastic for the short while we knew ya. Rest easy. With the recoil, Hao again seems to be in healing rage. I send out Roxo to finish him off, using Brick Break just in case he heals. But then Hao switches in a very unprompted manner, so Noivern is suddenly out and easily survives a resisted Brick Break. But this isn't too dire of a situation with Lemon's arrival on the scene as Noivern just Dragon Pulses. The only way for us to be screwed over is if Hao flinches us numerous times in a row with Dark Pulse. Leftovers and Protect will gain us more attempts to attack, but that is entirely unnecessary in the presence of Resonant Staller, Lemon! He chooses violence with this Ice Beam, which shoots the frail quad Ice Weak Bat out of the sky. Our final obstacle is that death-defying Tauros. We are able to survive 1 non-crit Earthquake, meaning Scald can then KO. But now of all times is when Hao decides to use his full restore. Could have done this earlier, but yeah, okay, Lucamine would be proud of that play. Anyway, Scald deals just under half. We might need another sack, but it'll be okay as long as Roxo can finish it. Lemon endures the long-awaited Earthquake and then performs a Scald to weaken Tauros even more. Or simply high rolls on the second Scald, saving his own life, knocking out the Tauros, and winning us the grand finals of the Pokemon League to become the #1 champion of Alola. Block this overhead, Hao! So that's the run. I knew the Ultra games were hard, but man, I wasn't expecting them to be that hard. There was a lot of patience for many of the battles, along with the sheer length of the game alone. It was fun figuring things out with our varied squad of Pokemon, and I managed to use pretty much everyone in this Nuzlocke. Sure, some of those lights were snuffed out right when they were used, but a lot of them either happened off-screen or were of course showcased in this summary in big battles. Guess this is a good time to show Pokkén itself. It's a great game, very fun to watch at the very least, and has a cast of characters that's incredibly unique amongst fighting games. But also, of course, I gotta show the channel. Feel free to subscribe if you like, if you want to see more content from me. This was a long one, not sure how common I'll do Gen 7 summaries in the future, but when they do, I'll try to make it something special like this one was. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time for more Nuzlockes. See ya!